First 2.5 Geeks will be getting our G8X on and thinking about it and taking a cruise on Ice Lake with Dell and going completely wireless. And we'll be pixel peeping and taking notes and announcing a very, very special killer gaming rig giveaway next. Welcome back to yet another episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. My goodness, we've got a labyrinth, a rundown, a total gauntlet of good stuff today, folks. All kinds. We're going to hit like all areas of tech, from mobile to the desktop to wireless, no wires, the whole deal. It's going to be smoke and mirrors and fun and frolic, guaranteed. But I'm joined, as always, with my compatriot, Marco Chiappetta, the ever fabulous, eloquent, and dashing Marco Chiappetta. How you doing, buddy?
I thought you were talking about Brittany for a second.
She's not dashing.
I'm okay. I'm trying to keep a happy face because it's going to be an insane week. Everybody, keep an eye on the site because between tomorrow and Wednesday next week, 5 product launches. I won't tell you which ones, but 5 new products launching. So craziness about to happen, but keeps us working. I guess that should make me happy.
That's it. Overworked and underpaid, and but job security nonetheless, right? Absolutely. And but we're also joined, Brittany. Yeah, there you guys are kind of like twins, but
your husband and wife. We're not actually related.
No, I hope you are within.
Yeah, that would be. Someone would be knocking on our door. I'm good. The week kind of was up to a rough start, but it's improving. I feel like the sun has come out after we actually just had a ridiculously rainy day here in Maine, and the sun is coming out, so I feel like it's turning around a little bit. So hopefully it'll continue that way.
The sun will always come out tomorrow, Brittany,
yes,
right?
It will.
That's what they say. That's what somebody once said, I
think. Or
think.
by the evening commute. At least that wasn't the way it was today.
There you go. And up in God's country, Maine, where the men are men, and, well, no, you are clearly not a man. The joke usually is the men are men and so are the women. But that's not the joke. Not for you.
We're still hunting and fishing and all that good stuff, right? So
there you go.
Yeah.
Manly women. Yes. No, it's good. We won't ask how Chris is doing, but he's the man behind the curtain, making us all transition smoothly and stuff like that. So that's cool. We're having issues. Okay, well, hopefully the stream is going. It started 3 minutes ago, and so I'm seeing some goodness. Yeah, I think we're looking crispy, anyways. All right, so yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff to talk about. We've got a very special giveaway that we're going to bring up towards the end of the podcast, and so stay tuned for that. It's serious. It's big news. We're going to really dig in deep on it to talk about the actual product itself that we're going to be giving away in the weeks ahead. But we're going to be sort of formally announcing it here, but we're getting all kinds of color gradients in the stream, Chris. Yeah, that's some fancy stuff. So we're going to get to that later on, but we've got tons of great headlines coming up here because there's lots of stuff on the review bench as well as in the news these days. Just all kinds of happenings going on as we ramp up through Q4 here into the holiday craziness that is the tech shopping season. Marco just got back from the scenic New York City, the Big Apple, to meet with his friends at LG, and he spent some quality time with the LG G8X, ThingQ, which is quite an interesting device. I didn't expect this. We all didn't expect this. We expected the usual, upgrades in terms of processing and all that good stuff, but some pretty unique dual screen capability as well, right, Marco?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start with just the phone. So let me pull out the phone here. This is the LG G8X ThingQ. So beautiful, premium Android device here. Let me bring the screen back up. Just to quickly burn through some specs because it's going to sound like lots of the other phones currently on the market. Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 mobile platform in here. 6.4-inch OLED display with 2340 by 1080 res. This particular model is 6 gigs of RAM with 128 gigs of internal storage, but you can expand it with another 2 terabytes via a micro SD expansion card. One of the cool features on the outside of the device, you have a dedicated Google Assistant button. So if you want to bring up help from Google, you can literally just press a button and start chatting with OK Google. And of course, latest version of Android, updated cameras. Oh, I just activated my other phone by saying that. Hold on a second. All the goodness you'd expect from a flagship phone. But let me show you the really cool feature. So there's this case here that all front, there's a third display right there. And if I open this, you now have a foldable phone with 2 displays. And, you know, I can't talk about too much. The reviews are under embargo until next week. I can just tell you that we have a phone and that the experience has been good. This feature works surprisingly well so far. You have controls to transfer data from one screen to the other, to share a screen. You can have your keyboard or your camera controls on this screen while everything else is on the other, which opens up some interesting possibilities for food photos. Imagine holding this straight above. Let me see if I can position that. Your food and being able to snap a shot at a nice cool angle, you know. So lots of really cool stuff. So, you know, if you look at just the phone, it's, you know, competitive with other 855s out there, but you add this cover and it kind of opens up a new world of possibilities, and both together are going to be sold for only $699. So LG being really aggressive on pricing.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So that last little bullet surprises me, that with the display option, or not an option, it's with the bundle. It's $699 dual display.
$699 dual display unlocked. Really cool.
Wow. So and Snapdragon 855, 8 gig of RAM or 6 gig of RAM? Six. Okay. So, and then storage for $699. Do you know what the
128 gigs.
128 gigs. Huh. That's not bad. I tell you.
So like some of the other stuff, you know, the specs are out there. We can't talk performance or impressions, but you know, the rear cameras are 12 and 13 megapixel only. The selfie camera is a 32 megapixel camera. I haven't had a chance to test it. There is an under-screen fingerprint sensor. Haven't had a chance to test that yet either. But, you know, it seems pretty cool. My first impressions are really good. If you are leery of actual foldable phones, and obviously not everybody's got a budget for, you know, a massive foldable device, and they don't want to be a first-gen adopter, this really feels like an interesting in-between, especially for that price.
And it won't break, probably.
You know, this thing feels really sturdy. Yeah. So this hinge, like you'll see, it can't support the weight of the phone, but it feels strong. It does not feel insubstantial. Now, the only problem with this case, here's a OnePlus 7T with a bumper on it. You could see it's definitely beefier with the dual screen case on there, but you know, you can take it off if you want your phone. If you're not going to be using the second screen, you're going out, you want the smallest thing possible in your pocket, take it off.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. And no, Brittany, I'm sorry. Did you want to jump in there?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think it's quite interesting because last time we met, I believe I expressed hesitation about having those foldable phones and whether they actually were practical in real life or whether they were kind of maybe more of a gimmick, where that seems like a really interesting application of that concept without losing, you know, a singular device. So I'm curious to see your final thoughts, Marco, on that particular device.
How thick is it when it's in the display case?
I don't have the spec,
but I mean, does it feel chunky or is it still pocketable?
It's still pocketable. It feels way more substantial than the lone phone.
Okay.
So this second screen, I should mention, you'll notice it still has a notch at the top. It's literally the exact same screen. There's no camera in the notch, but just to keep it easy to keep the screens in sync and share stuff, they made the specs identical. Now, what I'm hoping we can test battery life properly with both screens, because I'm going to assume it's going to significantly impact battery life. Yeah. But so it's the flexibility is there for, you know, a really wide-ranging device, not just a phone anymore, you know?
Right. No secondary battery in that case.
No.
So it's tapping off the main battery.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
but it is a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, big battery in this phone.
Okay, so yeah, a heck of a lot larger than the Pixel 4 XL that I'm testing now with a 2,800 milliamp hour battery. Well, actually, I got to look at what the specs are on the XL. I think it might be a little bit larger, but yeah, I mean, these days, when you talk about a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, 128 gigs of storage, 6 gig of RAM, could be a little bit beefier, up to 8 these days for some of the higher end flagships like OnePlus offers and Samsung's line of Galaxy phones. But everything else along with that secondary display for $699 sounds like a pretty darn good deal unlocked. I mean, wow. So hopefully the execution's as good as what it brings to the table. Headphone jack, I noticed that in your hands-on video. Yep. We've got a hands-on, by the way, at HotHardware. Headphone jack, like to see that. Anything else? Wireless charging, IP68, is that going on?
I don't remember, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
I don't. It's been a whirlwind couple of days. I'd have to go check the specs. I do believe we have dust and water resistance. I'm not sure on the wireless charging. I have to double check. But before we move on, we have a couple of questions about the giveaway in the comments. So tech for you to win it. It's going to take a couple of weeks for us to run the contest, but the announcement's coming at the end of this podcast. You're going to want to see what it entails for sure. So stick around. Yes,
and we'll be announcing where it will be run and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. And some quality hardware on board that we'll be talking about as well. So that'll be good stuff too. And yeah, Marco, thanks for watching the chat there. All right, well, cool stuff. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on that. It'll be interesting to see what LG does with respect to the camera. They always have a couple of interesting camera wrinkles, and it doesn't surprise me that they're able to offer up the dual displays for a cost, because LG is such a display powerhouse for that price. Dual OLED, or are they IPS?
OLEDs, dual OLEDs.
Dual OLED. Wow. That's starting to sound like a better value every day. So, we'll have to come back and learn more when you dig in to that review in the days ahead. But let's move on, and perhaps you can help me with this, Marco, and Chris and Brittany. I don't know if you guys can chime in as we go through it, but our good friend, Mr. Ben Funk, I love that name. The guy with the last name Funk, it's awesome. He took a look at Dell's XPS 13, and did I give you the right URL, Chris? That's the question. The Dell XPS 13 2019 model now, the 2-in-1. This is the XPS 13 2-in-1, and it is now has been refreshed with Ice Lake. And so 10th generation Intel Core series processor. It's a quad-core processor, 8 threads with hyper-threading, and base clock of 1.5 gigahertz, boost clock of 3.9 gigahertz, 13.3-inch 1920 by 1200 display. So nice different aspect ratio there, 4:3. 512 gig Samsung SSD, NVMe SSD on board, 16 gig of LPDDR4 RAM. And I mean, the thing is just loaded for bear. The nice thing about what Dell has done with this machine was iterative refinement beyond just the hardware under the hood. So you actually have a top-mounted front-facing camera, webcam now, that's up in the top bezel. It's not down in the bottom, giving you the up the nose cam anymore, which has been a complaint about Dell's Infinity Edge display setup for a long time now, for generations. And it took a lot of engineering to pack that webcam into the top bezel, because it is so thin, because all around that Infinity Edge display, it's just super thin bezel, which is a great aesthetic, for maximizing display area and keeping the laptop compact. But you have to trade off, and for a long time the trade-off was, put that camera down below. Well, now it's back up top, and it's a Windows Hello camera with, that infrared camera facing forward as well. So you've got a Windows Hello capable camera up top, Ice Lake under the hood, and some seriously good hardware and white spun glass, and machined aluminum on the lid, and just a beautiful machine throughout. Weight is 2.9 pounds, so just squeaked in under 3 pounds. Has the micro SD card reader, yay. Thunderbolt 3, full Thunderbolt 3, USB-C capable port, and a 51 watt 4-cell battery on board. So really a well-appointed machine beyond just its hardware under the hood. What's always surprising is how a machine like this, with its super thin profile, can actually perform. But Dell does a really good job with thermal solutions on board. So the cooling solution on board this machine actually holds up. You're taking a look at it there. You've got dual fans on board. They're pushing out the rear of the machine. You can see that battery spread out on the front area of the machine. It's got to be super thin, so they spread it across a big area. It does a really good job of managing heat, and so this machine actually doesn't throttle as much as you might expect from an Ultrabook this thin and light. And it puts up some of the best numbers we've seen, certainly with Ice Lake versus previous generation 9th gen and 8th gen processors from Intel. Of course, it's leading the benchmarks in almost every area, with the exception of some machines that might have discrete GPUs or something of that nature. So really, really well done. If you're considering a thin and light in the 3 pound category, I'd say definitely give the XPS 13 a look by Dell. They've really taken the the protractor, the ruler, whatever, to tweak the design as much as they can to sort of optimize things wherever they can. And they've really, refined this machine over the years. It's always been a favorite of ours at HotHardware. But I think, the XPS line in general, XPS 13 and 15 have done well in terms of, competitive sales across the web. It's a highly regarded machine. And I think Dell takes it up a notch even further with this design iteration. Marco, I know you've seen this in the flesh. What are your thoughts? Am I being a little bit too generous? Anything else out there that sort of competes with it that I'm
a machine that I know of? So and I think Dell knocked it out of the park personally. Just the form factor, the look, the performance. I mean, you got to keep in mind, this is a thin and light 2-in-1 that literally led in almost every benchmark versus even some bigger Ultrabooks. This thing is a monster in terms of performance, yet it's super sleek, lightweight, completely portable, and convertible. So, Ice Lake is the real deal. For mobile, this thing is no joke. I absolutely love the machine. This is going to sound way over the top, but I don't even know what I would change on this machine. It's that nice. Yeah. Even that hinge, I forget what's the name of that special hinge that it has, where the sequential hinge. Like, even if you go to rotate it, that hinge will prop up the keyboard. As you start to rotate the screens, you get better ergonomics. But then you can also completely flip it all the way around into tablet mode. Just lots of thoughtful add-ons here, and just for that form factor and size to offer the performance it does, in only Ice Lake's 15 watt TDP configuration, just an awesome machine.
Yeah, it's funny that hinge, and people think, oh, it's a convertible, it's a 2-in-1, and for sure it is. You flip the hinge 360, make the sandwich in reverse, right, and you've got a tablet. Well, I mean, let's face it, a 13.3 inch tablet that's almost 3 pounds is kind of unwieldy. So for me, that tablet function, unless you're a tablet diehard, and it does have pen support, by the way, it's for the average person, it's probably a little unwieldy. But if you're a factor, use case for you, but it's a niche use case. What it is very beneficial for, I think, that hinge is having the flexibility of adjusting it to different pitches, right on, different heights. I always talk about how, I like having the laptop on the kitchen counter as I'm making dinner. I'm firing up some music on it, maybe streaming over Bluetooth, checking my email, dinner's on the stove. Counter height isn't great for the average laptop swing that's, just a little over 90 degrees or whatever. And so that extra swing really gives you the ability to face that panel up optimally if you're standing over it versus sitting at a desk. And so I think there's a lot of flexibility with the 360 hinge beyond just the tablet. Brittany, I know you took a look at this because it was actually at your domicile.
Yes.
Because Chris was shooting it up. What did you think about the
yeah.
XPS 13?
Honestly, I didn't spend too much time with it, so I can't really say a lot. The one thing I wanted to add, which you kind of just mentioned, is it does have that pen, and Ben in his review highly reviewed, like he has a very high opinion out of it. So if that is something that you are looking for, that is a consideration to take. A consideration, though, as you pointed out, Dave, that does tend to be a little bit more specialized, right? Not everyone needs a pen to accompany their 2-in-1 or their laptop. But it was very nice. I will say that I did, just holding it and how much it weighed and things like that. For someone like me who spends a lot of time on the go and likes to have a light device, I found it to be, to have the options and the specs on it, I think are pretty good. So not a ton of time with it, but I was impressed for the few minutes I got with it.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Hey, Chris, I don't know if you can pull this back up on the screen real quick, but I got to look at Ben's artwork one more time with that pen shot and the guy standing there in shorts and what looks like a Hawaiian shirt. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you can get that back if that's asking you too much, Chris. But I was impressed with Ben's artistry there. There it is. Yeah, there we go. Like, look at that thing. That guy did that presumably freehand with a pen stylus. Mine would look like mush, right, Marco? That would look like total mush for me.
Ben definitely did a good job. That's a cool picture, man.
The guy's got a yo-yo. He's got the Bermuda shorts on and the sport coat and tie. I mean, he doesn't know what he wants to be, casual or whatever, but pretty rocking dude there. I like that. Good job, Ben. We have to give him some kudos for the artwork as well. All right. So yeah, that's the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1 2019. And, really just, we're impressed again with the folks at Dell on that product. So we invite you to check it out at HotHardware.com. You can check out our review, go through all the numbers in detail. And if you're looking for that class of machine, we think you can't go wrong. What's pricing like on it? It's pretty competitive. I think it starts at $899, right?
As configured, we're a little over
$1,500,
and I think it starts at $999.
Yeah. So
which is pretty competitive.
Yep. Yeah. In general, when you talk about Ultrabooks, and it's one of the first machines on the market these days with Intel's 10th generation Ice Lake processor. We gave it an editor's choice, so there you go. Beautiful stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to something that Brittany got a chance to play with, which I was surprised. Yes. I was like, man, she wants some pretty geeked out stuff here. So
I do.
She took a look at the Nyrius Aries Pro. I hope I'm saying that right. Nyrius.
I believe it's Nyrius. I think it's Nyrius.
So wireless HDMI, a sort of an interesting little niche product there. You took interest and most folks think about wireless transmitters. They think about Chromecast or Roku or something that's streaming the internet, Netflix, whatever, right on their TV through this little dongle. Doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, but this is like that kind of application on steroids, and it's not it doesn't have built-in service, but it allows you to get an HDMI signal to your TV without wires.
Exactly.
What do you think?
I think it depends on what your ultimate need for it. So I will admit that when I initially was approached about this product, that I was mostly interested in it because I really wanted to watch Game of Thrones, and we did not have the correct stuff. We had to use an HDMI cable, right? So we didn't have any sort of wireless solution. So when I heard about it, I was a little bit intrigued, right? I was like, maybe that would be an easy way. Now, of course, Amazon Prime with all of that, HBO Go, it is compatible with like Chromecast and things like that. So we ended up taking a look at it, and Nyrius promises that you can use this with a camera, with a drone. We did not get to test it with a drone because we simply don't own one, but we did get to test it with a camera, streaming from a laptop to a television. We tested it while playing video games. We tested it while streaming video recording from our DSLR to a PC. So we tested it in a variety of ways. And essentially, it functions just like an HDMI cable minus the wire. So you plop the receiver, which is sort of the square device, into your screen of choice, right? So desktop or a television or something like that, and then you pop the receiver onto your device of choice, a laptop or whatever it is that you want to, I'm sorry, a transmitter onto that device, and then whatever you want to transmit to. And we did find that there was a little bit of artifacting. So if image quality is
Hey, we're back.
We're back.
Hopefully we're back. I don't know where we are exactly, but we're streaming again. And we're going to just freelance it from here. Sorry about that, folks. The internet was not kind to us. We lost the stream somehow. But we're back up at youtube.com/c/HotHardware live. Hopefully that's what you're seeing right now. And so a little bit of a gremlin there, connectivity wise, but hopefully this will work. We'll pull it back together. Brittany, we were talking about the Nyrius Aries Pro wireless HDMI transmitter that you took a look at. And we could use some wireless help right now, probably,
yes,
right?
Yes, I apologize. I should probably say, Christopher, who's controlling the stream, we're married. We're in the same household. We had a terrible rainstorm today.
Oh, yeah. You were comparing what this device does versus, Chromecast and all those good things. It's a pretty exotic wireless HDMI solution.
So it works like I said, I don't know how much you guys caught, but it works basically exactly like an HDMI cable. However, it is wireless. Some of the pros to it is that there is very low latency, although we did experience about a second or so. So if you are into competitive gaming, this may not be the product for you. However, overall, just playing, very casually, we had really no issue and didn't notice much latency at all. There is noticeable artifacting. So if image quality is a concern for you, you will see that, for example, if you look at the image on the screen around the crosshairs, there's definite artifacting there. So there are some pros and cons because it is wireless, right? So it doesn't have like the type of buffer that a Chromecast has, or even the type of connection that an HDMI cable does. So that's something to take into consideration. However, we did find that it was great when we connected the transmitter to our DSLR and a receiver to a computer, we were able to see the footage live, which was awesome. So if you are a videographer or director or something like that, that can be really useful. It could be great in a conference room, to show a presentation. They do say you can use it with the drone. However, we weren't able to test that because we simply just don't own a drone. And overall, how far you can have the receiver and the transmitter apart was actually pretty good. We live in a 2-story house, and we found that even if we went to the right above the second story, they still maintained a connection. It was really only once we maybe had gone to the second story and we were quite a few feet away and there was walls and all of that the transmitter and receiver lost connection. So overall, I would recommend the product, if this is something that you are interested in and you are looking at, just keeping in mind that you are going to be experiencing a little bit of artifacting. The connection does interrupt after a while once you get so far, and if you are into competitive gaming, that you will notice just the teeniest bit of lag.
Yeah. So, and I think that's kind of key for this product that we should point out, and that's you're talking a millisecond latency or less, and so where it used to be previous generation wireless HDMI solutions really weren't suited at all for gaming.
Right.
You could actually probably game on this fairly well, but if you're a competitive gamer where every millisecond counts and you're king or queen of Fortnite, esports arena, you're not going to be using something like this.
Yeah,
but
if you're the kid who won $1 million.
Yeah,
for the average person, I think it works fine. And like I said, initially I had been interested in it because I was curious to see whether we could stream Game of Thrones, and the streaming was fine. The artifacting was present, but if you are just looking for a really multifaceted wireless streaming device, I think this could work for you.
Yeah, I think that's the key there is you're
multifaceted.
Yeah, you're talking about something that can do what a Chromecast or a Roku stick can do, because you can tap in on your laptop to those services, but you can also do a multitude of other things from gaming to whatever you can connect via HDMI wirelessly to your TV. You can throw whatever you want over an HDMI connection to your TV, which is pretty cool. A little bit pricey though, $250. Something to consider there.
It is up there. We did look at other comparable devices, and they were priced pretty similarly. However, if you are looking for something where you're just trying to stream shows or something like that, it may not be the ideal, especially when you can get a Chromecast for so cheap. So if that's your main purpose, it's probably not the device for you. But once again, if you're looking at a device that's really multifaceted and you've already been kind of in the market, then the price is comparable.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, check that out. That's the Nyrius Aries Pro wireless HDMI kit. Check it out. We have a review at HotHardware.com. You can decide if this price tag is worth whatever sort of exotic use case you might have for it. Photographers, videographers, yeah, there's something there for sure. But let's move on, and let's get going quickly through the rest of the cast here, so we can get to the final big announcement at the end of the stream with our friends from Falcon Northwest and AMD. But let's talk about something we looked at in detail amongst the team over the past couple of days, and that's the Pixel 4 XL versus the Samsung Galaxy Note 10. From a camera shootout perspective. And so this is an article that we put up real quick. Once we got the Pixel 4 XL in for review, I'm now stepping through the full detailed review on that. But we felt it was probably near and dear to most folks' heart. When you come to, when it comes to smartphones, probably the most important aspect of a smartphone, a modern smartphone these days, beyond just making calls and texting, which is 90% of what you might do with a phone, perhaps. The other, maybe it's less than that, but 80 or 20 or whatever. The other bit that is important to most folks is the camera. So you want to make calls, you want to text, you want to surf the web, check email, something like that. But camera is huge. And of course, Google's Pixel phones have always been a big, a leader when it comes to camera, smartphone camera photography and fidelity, image fidelity. Google has figured out a way, really through software processing, to render images that are true to life, that are natural, that are accurate and crisp and very detailed, especially for something that's in this tiny little camera in the back of a smartphone that fits in your pocket. DSLR, quality in the palm of your hand, so to speak. And so, Google's always had a, sort of the flagship lead there. And however, we've always felt at HotHardware, and I think it's, sort of been, argued across the web, that Samsung, with their Galaxy line of phones, whether it be the Galaxy S10, the most recent, or the Galaxy Note 10, have had competitive solutions, and certainly lots of bells and whistles, different, wide-angle cameras, triple cameras in the back of the Galaxy Note 10 and S10 series. So very competitive there as well. So we just decided to do a shootout. And I actually stepped around a couple of nice sunny days here in New England and captured what I could, and tried to frame them up as identical and lined up as I could, because, the cameras have slightly different, resolutions and slightly different, aspect ratios and angles, viewing angles when they capture an image. So did the best I could to line them up. And then did a straight up A/B comparison, from fall foliage to dogs in the yard to flowers on the coffee table in the living room. And we came up with, what was interesting was we came up with dramatically different results. When you look at the Pixel 4 series, you get a very detailed shot with a very accurate, I would say, rendering, but so accurate that the focus is so much on accuracy, I think, that it comes across muted, that real life is, in my opinion anyways, perhaps a little more vibrant. The flip side of that is the Galaxy Note 10, which we compared to it, captured things a little too vibrant, maybe a little too overexposed in spots, a little too colorful and accentuated beyond what real life is. And so it really was an interesting discussion amongst the team, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So you determine what you feel is the best shot. But we did a little bit of A/B comparison and some pixel peeping, if you will, and had some different opinions across the team. And I'm going to admit this right now, I personally liked the Note 10 more often than the Pixel 4. That was I was the outlier on the team, though. Everybody else disagreed with me. And it was because I liked a little bit of extra color and a little bit of extra pop. But I also agree that in some cases it was too much, and in some cases it wasn't necessarily true to life. I thought it would satisfy the average mainstream consumer, though. And so maybe I was thinking with that. But anyways, what did you guys think, Marco? What were your thoughts? And Britt, what did you think? Am I off the mark here? Am I crazy for liking my Samsung candy?
For my taste, looking at the images that we have up, if the pixel shots were a little brighter, virtually all of them seem to have more detail, less noise, fewer weird artifacts. Like especially the portrait shots, I thought it was just clear win for pixel. The indoor with mixed lighting shots, that's where it gets kind of iffy. Like I like the vibrance of the Samsung shots, but they look fake. But the pixel shots are way too muted. So like right in between those two is probably like Samsung's being too aggressive, Google's not being aggressive enough. It's somewhere in between where those probably should be. But just in terms of the quality, I would much rather have the Pixel, and if I have to do a little post-processing, so be it, because the starting image to me has more detail and is better quality.
I kind of completely agree with Marco on that. I would also prefer. I'm Team Google. Sorry, Dave. I know Marco and I are teaming up on you again in this particular stream.
It's all right.
But for me, I'd rather spend. And here's the thing: most phones now have some sort of photo editing tool, right? Or you can download a photo editing tool. So I would rather with the Pixel have much more accurate images where I just maybe need to up the exposure just a teeny tiny bit and then have a really great shot than the Samsung, which I agree with Marco, looked to me a little bit unrealistic. And in particular, actually, Christopher, if you can stay where you are with that forest scene, if you look at that, that beautiful New England autumn forest, I noticed that there was quite a bit of artifacting and sort of a weird white outline with the Samsung photo where the tree line meets the sky that you just don't see in the Pixel one. So personally for me, I feel like, and also too, I should say, I do photography as a hobby. So for me, post-processing isn't, a big deal. In fact, I even kind of enjoy editing. I find it kind of fun. So I would personally rather have the Pixel for camera than the Samsung. So sorry, Dave.
So that particular shot,
that's all right.
Brittany, that shot that you're talking about right now, when Dave first posted them, when we first started our discussion, it was like, okay, they both look good. Then the more I looked at the Samsung
the more
shot,
you look at it
looks like a cartoon.
It's kind of like the work of art. The more you look, the more you see,
Yeah, that's how I felt with that shot.
Okay, so I will counterpoint that shot with my opinion of it. So what I see, and this is what's great about it. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine to have different perspectives. Yeah. So what I see with that shot is, I agree with you with the sky. So the sky's not that blue, number one. It's not quite that blue. It was very blue that day. No question about it. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and it was very blue. I took that shot. So I saw exactly, my eyes saw, that shot and captured it in my mind before we compared it. And when you look at the sky and as you noted, the little halo around the tree, when you're really zooming in and you check that out, I agree. It's there. It's not quite natural. What I miss in that shot that the Pixel didn't capture is the variance, the degree of variance between the green in the trees and the yellow and the orange in the trees. You look at the trees in the Pixel shot and everything looks yellow and orange. You look at the trees in the Samsung shot and everything has a very wide color gamut, and that's the way it looks way it looked that day in real life. My trees in my front yard, that's my front yard. They have all that. It's a very
beautiful front yard.
No, it is. I mean, it's a pain in the butt with all those leaves when they come down. Let me tell you.
Oh, you should see our backyard too.
That's brutal. But I mean, for sure, there was a lot more color variation in the leaves and those leaves than what the Pixel rendered. And then the foreground, the bush, to the lower right of that shot, a lot more red in that bush than what the Pixel captured. So for me, it was like I was missing color that I'm not sure you can bring back out in the pixel shot. I mean, it wasn't accurate in that case, in my opinion, in those areas. In the sky, yeah, okay, I agree. Samsung didn't need to go crazy. It was like they went a little too nuts with contrast. They should leave the color, and they went a little too crazy with contrast on that one. But yeah, it's a funny thing. I think the bottom line is you can't go wrong probably with either phone. I just wonder what the mainstream consumer is going to look like most folks, when they take a picture, they're looking at it in the palm of their hand on their screen and they're showing their friends and they're like, hey, look at this nice picture of my family or whatever. I don't know. What do you think they're going to like? They're going to like the pixel shot or the Samsung shot with all the pop?
To be fair, all three of us do live in New England, and you simply cannot capture the beauty of a New England fall in a photo. Like, it is virtually impossible to do, right? Like, so we kind of have, that unfair advantage, I think, there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think, to your defense and to Marco's defense, we are, this is our job. We're technical and enthusiasts. And so we're looking at these pictures as something we can process later and versus having just on the phone and viewing.
That's true. Yeah. And maybe your everyday consumer doesn't necessarily want to, put in that processing, right? They want that out of the gate vibrant photo. So I think it just depends. And like you said, all three of us, I mean, part of our job is we do take photos, right? Whether it's products or in your case, like the sample photos on each phone. So we're going to look at it a little bit more critically than maybe your average consumer necessarily would.
Chris, what is Chris doing? Is he playing in Photoshop or something?
Yeah, he's demonstrating the photo editing.
Okay.
Yeah. He's trying to show how you can get to the middle ground, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah,
there
with
you
this
go.
Photo, with a little bit of photo editing, with a little bit of photo magic.
All right. Well, Marco, I know you're a Samsung daily driver. Would this push you to go to a Pixel 4 or something like that?
Having switched away from my Note to the OnePlus 7T, I'm missing lots of the refinements that Samsung offers. The biggest thing that I miss is the notification LED. So I don't know if a camera alone would make me switch at this point, but I like what Google does with the Pixels. It's just such a clean phone. I don't like the new swiping and gestures for the interface, but I'll learn it.
Well, interesting, and I should hold this phone up in front of the screen. This is the Pixel 4 XL in white, and this is an interesting thing. With respect to gestures, there, I actually was a little bit jaded with respect to gestures as well, and I thought to myself, what can I really use this for? It's gimmicky. I don't want to be bound to gestures. Anyways, long story short. I'm going down the road. I've got this now plugged in as a daily driver because I want to live with it. We've got another phone that we're testing as well. And I have Pandora on. And the phone's locked. I'm going down the road. I hear a song I want to skip. I've said, let me try this. I didn't even touch the phone. It's locked. I waved my hand over the screen. I skipped to the next track. I was like, okay, that works. That was a useful gesture. If you're making me do gestures for a bunch of other stuff, I'm not going to be all that thrilled. But that was useful. I'm like, okay, skip track, bang. I just waved my hand over the phone, and it worked. And
that's cool. That the radar sensor and those gestures are cool. I mean, actually navigating Android on the screen where it doesn't have the buttons like previous versions, navigating through the OS using swipes instead of just tapping buttons is going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, that would take some.
Totally agree. And I'm getting used to that too. You got to swipe in from the right of the screen to go back. You don't have a back button. You swipe in from the right. So I am adapting to it, but it is a jarring departure from what you're used to with the regular home button, the back button, and the app tray, the recently used app tray. So yeah, it's interesting. I think in the days ahead, we'll have our full review out and we'll give it the final assessment then. All right, let's move on and let's close this thing out with the big announcement that unfortunately got interrupted by a disconnected internet. But let's talk about something that's actually we've been working on for quite a while now, and we got together with our friends at Falcon Northwest. It was our 20th anniversary at HotHardware.com. It was Falcon Northwest's anniversary for their Talon series of gaming PCs, desktop gaming PCs, and so we thought, let's get together, let's do a little build. Let's put our heads together on what we could put together for a killer gaming rig with our friends at Falcon Northwest. And of course, these days, all the buzz is AMD Ryzen and AMD Radeon processors and GPUs. And so we actually came together with a pretty cool build that, in conjunction with AMD's gaming bundles, that for Ryzen and Radeon, their Raise the Game promotion and their Equipped to Win promotion, where they will bundle a bunch of cool games from Borderlands 3 to Outer Worlds, which is new from its Obsidian Entertainment. The folks at Obsidian with Outer Worlds, that's going to be launching later this week. They have a pretty cool game bundle to throw in the mix, and so we said, hey, let's call up the folks at AMD. Let's get everybody on the horn here and come together with a build that could have some special, mojo with it. And so, Marco, why don't you tell them what we've got going on here, from custom paint to some killer hardware on board, right?
This thing is nuts. So if I assume lots of the enthusiasts out there have already seen a Falcon Northwest Talon, because the machines have been around for a while. They are, one of the premier boutique custom built systems out there. Falcon Northwest has been killing it for many years. They're one of the OG system builders. And, with all of these anniversaries going on, you got our anniversary, the Talon's anniversary. It's also, AMD's 50th anniversary this year. So it just made so much sense for all of us to come together and to try to pull something off and give back to the community that's allowed all of us to be around this long and to thrive. So this system is nuts, right? We're talking beautiful, custom 20th anniversary edition Falcon Northwest Talon with the Outer Worlds branding on the outside on that gorgeous case. And then inside this rig, AMD Ryzen 7 3800X 8-core processor, AMD Radeon 7 16 gig GPU. We have an awesome Asetek cooler in there, and Asus ROG Crosshair 8 Hero motherboard. And, that's between the processor and the motherboard. Not only it being AMD's anniversary, and Ryzen being so hot right now, did we want to feature AMD? But this particular platform, first to market with PCI Express Gen 4. So you can get leading edge storage in there, and you have the most recent revision available of PCI Express. So for future stuff, you're ready to roll here. We also have a powerful 32 gigs of G.Skill RAM, 750 watt power supply in there, a nice fast SSD, Win 10 Pro, plus all of the goodies that you'd get if you bought a system like this, like the rescue drives and a 3-year warranty. Just an absolutely gorgeous rig. And of course, can't forget that awesome branding that's in there. You can see the Obsidian branding, the AMD branding, of course, HotHardware's branding. And it's just a really cool rig worth, many thousands of dollars. I think it was like $4,500 worth of stuff in here.
Look at the paint on that thing. Look at the Outer Worlds mural on the side. That is it's pretty awesome. And so, yeah, it's really a work of art. And the folks at Falcon Northwest do some pretty amazing stuff with their paint process. I think you saw that in the machine. We actually, Chris, I think you had a shot where it was actually printing in the machine, the side panel. And it's no joke that that paint process is impressive. It looks, real, you're looking at a lithograph almost of quality on the side of a sheet of metal for the side panel. And so really cool attention to detail there. And with the Outer Worlds launch that's coming, we thought it made real good sense to join forces with the folks at Obsidian on that. And impressive stuff. As you noted, Marco, 8-core CPU on board. So that's a Ryzen 7 3800X, 8-core 16-thread CPU, Radeon 7 16 gig GPU with HBM2 on board. So you're talking about some of the best firepower that AMD has to offer for gamers. It's not a big, 32-core, 12-core, whatever, super high-end CPU, but 8 cores is really all you're going to need for any gaming task. certainly. And I mean, 18 core, 16 thread with Ryzen 7 is some pretty good firepower these days, right? I mean, I want to say that these days, from a price performance standpoint for gamers, is probably about as good as you can get.
I mean, the price performance is awesome. AMD is killing it with Ryzen. The 3800X, with 8 cores, 16 threads, way more than enough horsepower for any game out there right now. Just super, not their top end processor, but plenty powerful enough for gaming. Absolutely. The Radeon 7, technically AMD still top end GPU. It's based on Vega with that HBM2. It's not based on Navi, but it is still their premier GPU. And, with that latest platform in there, you basically get the best AMD has to offer, with that flexibility to have, the latest connectivity in the system as well. So,
yeah,
zero complaints. An absolutely gorgeous build from Falcon as well is awesome. Now, we have a question in the chat about how to enter. So, good question. We're going to put a post up on HotHardware.com most likely by midday tomorrow. It's going to be very easy to enter. We're gonna run I believe it's called Gleam is the service that we're going to run. You're going to have to like a few Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages for all of the parties involved, and that's really it. Come by, like a couple of pages, engage with some of our audience on HH because we'll have a nice chat going on this post. And we'll just randomly pick a winner. No craziness. You're not going to do anything nuts. Going to keep it super easy and clean. We just want everybody involved. We want everybody to get eyeballs on everybody involved. So this is a super killer rig, and everybody was very generous in supporting this. And we just want to make sure everybody sees it, get them some exposure, and we want to give back to the community, and that's what this system's all about.
Yeah. Boost clock of 4.5 gigahertz on the processor, 32 gigs of G-Skill Trident, 3200 megahertz memory, DDR4 memory. So you're going to max out the memory clock for Ryzen there. You're going to be dialed in just about as fast as you need to be. And a solid EVGA Supernova G3 750 watt PSU. Brittany, would you allow something as gaudy and beautiful as this into your domicile?
Well, it's probably going in Christopher's office, so yes. And I feel like I should add too, not only is it our site's anniversary, it's the 20th anniversary, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I know. We've been around since
pretty big deal.
The internet was string in a tin cup when we first started,
Yeah,
it was.
Back in the day.
I think we had that backbone earlier when the cast dropped, but yeah. Anyways, good stuff. And really the folks at AMD have knocked out of the park lately with Ryzen and Radeon, and the Radeon 7 is a great GPU for extra gamer firepower there. I don't think there's anything you're gonna want in terms of horsepower to run the Outer Worlds on this machine. It's going to run it probably 4K or thereabouts, and with all the eye candy turned up. So good stuff for sure. Stop by HotHardware.com where you can find us on the web, Twitter.com/HotHardware, where you can tweet us. We're going to have this giveaway up shortly. You will see all the specific details and beauty shots of the Falcon Northwest Talon 20th anniversary edition with AMD, HotHardware, and the good folks from Obsidian with The Outer Worlds, which will be launching at the end of the week. My goodness, it's like Christmas, but a couple months early, right, Marco?
Absolutely. So really cool game, really beautiful system, really easy to win. Just good stuff all around.
Yeah. Check it out. And and with that, we will bid you adieu. Hit thumbs up and subscribe. We're sorry to have dropped you here today once, but it's good to be back, and we will catch you next time, Wednesdays at 5:30. And HotHardware.com, AMD, Falcon Northwest, good stuff coming. Thanks for stopping by.